My name is Emily Carter. I'm 32 years old, and if you saw me walking down the street today, you'd probably think I have it all together. I smile, I carry myself with confidence, I work as a senior nurse at a hospital in Boston, but what you wouldn't see is the storm I went through to get here. 8 years ago, I believed I had the perfect life. I was 24 when I met Daniel, and he was 28. He worked as a financial consultant for a big firm downtown. From the very first moment I met him, Daniel had this charm that could light up a room. He wasn't just handsome, he was confident, attentive, and had this way of making you feel like the most important person in the world. We met at a charity gala organized by the hospital I worked for. I was there volunteering, helping with the event, serving drinks, and guiding guests, and he walked up to me with this warm smile and said, "You don't belong behind a tray of glasses. You belong in the spotlight." I laughed it off, but honestly, that line stayed with me. After that night, he asked me out. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant in Cambridge. I still remember the way he looked at me over the candlelight, like he was memorizing every detail of my face. I had dated before, but no one ever made me feel so seen, so special. Within months, we were inseparable. He would drive 2 hours just to surprise me with coffee after my night shifts at the hospital. He sent me handwritten notes, small gifts, flowers. He made me believe in the kind of love you only read about in novels or see in movies. My parents adored him. My friends envied me. Everyone said, "Emily, he's the one." And I believed it with all my heart. After a year of dating, Daniel proposed. It wasn't anything flashy, it was just us at the beach during sunset, his hand shaking as he slipped the ring onto my finger. But to me, it was perfect. I cried, of course. And I said yes, without a second of doubt. Our wedding was intimate. Just family and close friends. I walked down the aisle thinking I was about to start the happiest chapter of my life. When I looked at him standing there, his eyes filled with tears, I felt safe. I felt chosen. The first 2 years of our marriage were everything I had dreamed of. We bought a small house together just outside the city. We spent weekends painting the walls, decorating the rooms, cooking meals together, laughing until midnight. He would call me his angel, and I would call him my rock. We even started planning for a family. We talked about having 2 kids. He wanted a boy first, I wanted a girl. We argued playfully about baby names. Those conversations were filled with hope and love, and I remember thinking, this is it. This is forever. But forever, it didn't last the way I thought it would. It started with little things. Missed dinners. Canceled date nights. Him coming home later and later, saying work was piling up. I told myself it was normal. He had a demanding job, after all. I tried not to complain, tried to be the supportive wife. But deep down, something felt off. He wasn't the same Daniel I had married. The man who used to text me sweet messages during the day now barely replied. The man who once couldn't wait to come home now seemed almost reluctant. At first, I ignored it. I told myself all marriages go through rough patches. That maybe it was stress. But the unease kept growing inside me, a small whisper that I tried to silence, something is wrong. And I had no idea how right that whisper was. The whispers in my mind became harder to ignore. At first, I convinced myself it was nothing. Daniel was just stressed, that's all. But when small things began piling up, I couldn't keep lying to myself. It started with his phone. Daniel had always been casual about it. He'd leave it on the counter, on the coffee table, even hand it to me if I asked to look something up. But one day, I noticed he began keeping it on silent, screen facing down. And whenever a notification came through, he would glance at it quickly and slide it into his pocket. I remember one evening so vividly. We were having dinner, and his phone buzzed. He reached for it so fast it startled me. When I asked who it was, he just smiled and said, "Work, don't worry about it." But his eyes didn't match his smile. Then came the late nights. Client dinners, he'd say. Team meetings ran late. I wanted to believe him, I really did. But when you're lying awake in bed at midnight, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the man you love to come home, your mind doesn't stay quiet. It starts imagining, questioning, replaying every detail. And then there were the weekends. Before, Saturdays were ours, we'd go for brunch, take long walks, sometimes drive out of town just to get away. But now, suddenly, he was too tired. He'd spend half the day napping, the other half buried in emails. I sat alone in the living room, sipping cold coffee, staring at the man who once filled my life with so much light and wondering where he had gone. I tried to talk to him. One night, I asked, "Daniel, are we okay?" He looked at me, almost annoyed, and said, "Of course we are, Emily. Stop overthinking. You know I love you." But his words felt hollow. The way he hugged me didn't feel the same. The way he kissed me goodnight, it felt like a routine, not love. Still, I tried. I cooked his favorite meals. I planned small surprises, left notes in his briefcase, even suggested we take a short trip to reconnect. Every time, he had an excuse. Work was too busy. Money was tight. Timing wasn't right. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was a Thursday evening. He had come home late again, this time smelling faintly a perfume that wasn't mine. I noticed it instantly. My chest tightened, but I didn't say anything. Later, when he went to shower, he left his phone on the kitchen counter. I shouldn't have looked. I know that. But my hands moved before my mind could stop them. The screen lit up with a message. It said, "Don't forget Lily's recital tomorrow. She's so excited to see you in the front row." I froze. Lily? Who was Lily? My hands were trembling as I scrolled up. There were more messages. Photos of a little girl with curly brown hair, holding up drawings with captions like, "Daddy, look what I made, and we miss you." My stomach dropped. My mind screamed 1,000 things at once. A client's child? A niece? But why would she call him Daddy? When Daniel came out of the shower, I confronted him. My voice was shaking as I asked, "Who is Lily?" For a second, his entire face changed. Shock. Panic. And then, calm. Too calm. He smiled and said, "She's my client's daughter. I'm mentoring him, helping out with his family. Don't read too much into it, Emily." But deep down, I knew he was lying. I could see it in the way he avoided my eyes, the way he walked away too quickly, the way he changed the subject like nothing had happened. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding. My husband, the man I had built my life with, was hiding something from me. Something big. And no matter how much I wanted to believe him, I couldn't silence that voice inside me anymore. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. The days after that text felt like walking through fog. I couldn't think straight. Every time I looked at Daniel, I saw that little girl's face in my mind, the one who had called him Daddy in the messages. I wanted to believe his story. I wanted to hold on to the man I had married, the man who once looked at me like I was his whole world. But the truth has a way of clawing its way to the surface, no matter how hard you try to bury it. One evening, about a week later, Daniel said he had to work late again. Something inside me snapped. I couldn't take another vague excuse. I needed answers. So, for the first time in my life, I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed him. He left around 6:30 p.m., suit jacket over his arm, briefcase in hand. I waited a few minutes before getting into my car and trailing behind him. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break my ribs. Instead of heading downtown to his office, he drove toward the suburbs. Quiet neighborhoods, tree-lined streets, houses with swing sets in the front yard. I stayed far enough back not to be noticed, my breath shallow with fear. Finally, he pulled into the driveway of a 2-story brick house. My stomach dropped. I parked a little down the street, my eyes glued to him. The front door opened, and a woman stepped out. She had dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing casual clothes, like she was at home, waiting for someone she loved. And then, she smiled. A smile so warm, so familiar. The kind of smile I used to give him. Daniel walked up the path, and she wrapped her arms around him. Not like a friend. Not like a colleague. Like a wife. And then it happened. A little girl came running out the door, her tiny arms flung wide. "Daddy," she squealed, her voice so clear, so innocent. Daniel bent down, scooped her into his arms, and kissed the top of her head. I couldn't breathe. The world tilted around me. I was sitting there in my car, staring at the man I thought I knew, the man I had given everything to, holding a child who wasn't mine. Living a life that wasn't ours. Tears blurred my vision, but I couldn't look away. I watched as they all went inside together, like a perfect little family. My husband. His other woman. His child. I don't know how long I sat there. Minutes? Hours? Time lost all meaning. All I felt was the crushing weight of betrayal pressing down on me, suffocating me. When I finally drove home, I was numb. My hands gripped the wheel so tight they ached. My face was wet with tears I didn't even remember shedding. That night, when Daniel came home, I couldn't even look at him. He kissed my cheek like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just spent the evening with another family. I wanted to scream, to throw the truth in his face. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I lay awake beside him, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing, wondering how many lies it took to keep 2 lives running at once. The next day, I gathered my courage. When he walked into the kitchen, I stood there with my arms crossed and said, "I know, Daniel. I know about her. I know about Lily." The look on his face told me everything. The color drained from his cheeks, his mouth opened but no words came out. For the first time, Daniel Carter, the man who always had the perfect excuse, the perfect answer, was speechless. Finally, he whispered, "Emily, I never wanted you to find out like this." Like this? The words echoed in my head. What other way was there to find out your husband has a secret family? And in that moment, standing in our kitchen, the life I had built with him shattered into pieces I didn't know if I'd ever put back together again. The days grew colder, and so did my marriage. Daniel had become distant, and no matter how much I tried to break the silence between us, he always seemed distracted. His phone was always in his pocket, always face down. He never used to be like this. One evening, as I was cleaning the laundry basket, I noticed a receipt tucked inside his jacket pocket. Normally, I wouldn't care, it could have been groceries or gas, but this one caught my eye. It was from a toy store. A very specific purchase, a child's bicycle. My heart skipped. We didn't have kids. At least, not together. I tried to shake it off. Maybe it was a gift for a friend's child, maybe for charity. But the thought didn't leave me. That night, I asked him casually, "Did you buy something from a toy store?" Daniel froze for a second, then smiled nervously. "Oh, yeah. Just, for my coworker's son. He had a birthday." His explanation was too quick, too rehearsed. My instinct screamed that something was wrong. The next day, curiosity got the better of me. I decided to follow him after work. He told me he had a late meeting. Instead, I parked a few blocks away from his office and waited. Hours passed, my stomach tight with fear. Finally, I saw him. He wasn't heading toward his office. He was driving in the opposite direction. I followed, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. He pulled up to a quiet suburban neighborhood, one I had never seen before. He parked outside a modest house, got out of the car, and walked to the door. What I saw next shattered me. A woman opened the door, smiling warmly at him. A little girl ran out, squealing, "Daddy! Daddy!" The word echoed in my head like a bomb going off. My chest tightened, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. He hugged the little girl, kissed her on the forehead, and stepped inside as if it were his home. I sat frozen in the car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. My vision blurred with tears. My husband, the man I thought I knew better than anyone, had another life. A secret family. In that moment, I didn't know if I should scream, confront him, or collapse right there. My world had tilted, and nothing felt real anymore.